Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So, thank you, Prabhuji, for joining us this evening. And we always used to see in a regular interval. So I was asking multiple people, they were eager to see you also. They might have seen recent past. We have Giriraj Hari Prabhu. Amit Prabhu joined, he left, he may be coming back. So, yeah, we have some devotees from India. Regularly they join. They are much punctual than all US devotees. I mean, in our group, I can't say in general. So, it's nice to have everybody. And you are welcome, Prabhuji, to the call. And some of them are new. Somebody also has joined from Raleigh. He's like lonely. He's trying to connect with devotees. He's Ashyaf Sumit Prabhu, who is in Colorado. I was telling him if he can visit. You can visit sometime in future his home when he's ready. He just recently went there, so he's getting settled down. With this, I will request, I think, Krishna and Prabhu, will you just say a few words very briefly about Prabhuji, those who are new, like Mani Prabhu or Mandi Prabhu, some other Prabhus from India, they are new. So that would be nice if you can speak a few words, then we'll. Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna, Rohinipriya, Prabhu. I hope you're doing well, and please accept my obeisances, Prabhu. And for those who are joining us for the first time or hearing from Prabhu for the first time, I'll try to put it very simply, but that's a difficult task. Prabhu is originally based out of ISKCON Chowpatty Temple, and Prabhu has undertaken several programs at the Chowpatty Temple in Bhaktivedanta Hospital as well. Prabhu joined ISKCON Pune in the 1990s after completing his Bachelor of Medicine, MBBS from Pune. And right now Prabhu is the General Manager at ISKCON Aurangabad, Maharashtra. And as we can see, Aurangabad ISKCON is flourishing under Prabhu's guidance. And Prabhu visits North America, several countries regularly every year, and we have had several opportunities to associate with Prabhu and purify our consciousness. So without any further delay, Prabhu, Hare Krishna, thank you very much for taking time to talk to us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. So I feel very much fortunate to be able to serve all of you in this Zoom gathering here. Indeed, it gives me great pleasure to be able to share some of the understandings of Krishna consciousness from our scriptures and as taught to us through the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, who is the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. I hope my voice is clear. If it is not, you can let me know.
Yeah,
it is audible. Thank you. So, for the first time in the Western world, about 50 years ago in the 1960s, there was an understanding of Gaudiya Vaishnavism that was available. So what is Gaudiya Vaishnavism? Vaishnavism is the philosophy where we understand that service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, is the natural tendency and inclination of every living entity, and that keeps the living entity happy and satisfied. And in order to reawaken our dormant service potential towards the Supreme Lord, we have to follow a process of purification or rectification. And this process of purification and rectification is called as Krishna consciousness. In very simple words, it means that one becomes consciously aware of the presence of Krishna at every stage and every moment of our life, such that we feel love for Krishna and we feel enthusiastic about serving Krishna in various ways. The Supreme Lord Krishna is the absolute truth, and therefore the Lord is always accompanied by his energies. Parasya shaktir vividhaiva shruyate swabhaviki jnana balakriyacha. So the Supreme Lord has innumerable divine energies. That is how the scriptures describe his potency. And all of his desires or his activities, they naturally come to him. He does it without, he does it even if there is no causative factor for it except his own desire. In other words, the Supreme Lord is supremely independent. And therefore, his energies function in a way that his wish is the manifestation. Just by his wish, everything is manifested. Saichata sasrijata or sa aikshata sasrijata. This is how the Shruti describe the activity of the Supreme Lord, that just by his desire, creation takes place, or just by his glance, he creates. So these various energies of Krishna, they manifest in different forms. They could manifest as his abode. They manifest as his personality, his decorations, his ornaments. They manifest as his associates. They manifest as the spiritual world or the material world. So parasya shaktir vividhaiva shruyate. And swabhaviki jnana bala kriyacha. This is important, that the Supreme Lord expresses desires. Not only does he desire, but he expresses them too. This mantra, this description of the Supreme Absolute Truth helps us understand how the Supreme Absolute Truth has a personality. Is not just existence, is not just theological in existence, but also has relationships, or also has activities, interactions. The Supreme Absolute Truth has interactions. So swabhaviki jnana bala kriyacha. Therefore, Krishna has his own, let us say, he has his own loka, his own world, his own realm, that is called as Krishna loka or Goloka. He also, in his various forms, expands as the Vishnu Murtis, Lord Narayan, and the various expansions of Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha. And his energy also expands as the material world. So this plus then the Lord has interactions with various entities in the spiritual world, in Vaikuntha, and also in the material world, which is called as the Bhautik Jagat. The world that is governed by the influence of time and by the manifestation of the three modes of material nature, Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamagun. So he has interactions with both these worlds because there is energies. One is his internal energy and the other is his external energy. One is known as Yogamaya and the other is known as Mahamaya. So Mahamaya is this material world, therefore Yogamaya is the spiritual world or the energy of the spiritual world, and Mahamaya is the energy of the material world. So when he has interactions in the spiritual world, those are called as his spiritual pastimes or Divya Leela. And when he has interactions in the material world, that is called as Srishti Leela or his pastimes in the material world. So how does his Srishti Leela manifest? It manifests in terms of he creating the material world or the material world arising from his navel. And then there is that which comes out from his navel is a lotus flower. And on that lotus flower, the first living entity, Brahma, manifests. And then Brahmaji engineers the universe into 14 planetary systems, the 14 Loka or 14 Bhuvan. So this is all a part of his Srishti Leela. Also, while interacting with this material world, he manifests his activity as or his expansion as an avatar, which means that he descends from the spiritual world into the material world. These avatars, they perform various activities in this material world, and that is what we call as the Leela of these avatars. It is called as these expansions of the Lord, these avatars of the Lord, they are called as Leela avatars. So some of these Leela avatars are Lord Ramachandra, then there is Varahadev, then there is Nrsingadev, and Lord Chaitanya is also a Leela avatar, just as Lord Krishna is also a Leela avatar. However, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, it is an authentic scripture that Gaudiya Vaishnavas follow. That describes Lord Gauranga to be non-different, or Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is also called as Lord Gauranga, to be the same as Lord Krishna. The only difference between Lord Krishna and Lord Gauranga is that Lord Krishna is the manifestation of sweetness. So he manifests Madhurya, and Lord Chaitanya is the manifestation of munificence or compassion. So Lord Chaitanya he manifests Audarya. So Krishna is manifesting Madhurya and Lord Chaitanya is manifesting Audarya. That is the only difference. And there's a difference of the body color also. there is that difference also, that the bodily manifestation is a little different. So Krishna is Shyam Varna, so his complexion is dark, whereas Lord Chaitanya is Gaur Varna, his complexion is golden, the complexion of his body, his divine body. So now Lord Gauranga, as Leela Avatar, he performed pastimes. He's also called as Yuga Avatar too. However, we want to focus on Lord Gauranga as Leela Avatar, or he performing various pastimes which establish religious principles. So Leela Avatar, they come to and perform pastimes which establish religious principles. And they also are very attractive. Therefore, the minds and the hearts of living entities get attracted to these Leela Avatars, get attracted to the Supreme Lord. So Lord Gauranga, he appeared about 550 years ago. It is about 84 AD is his appearance day or thereabouts. And he took sannyas at the age of 24. There are many other descriptions, but he took sannyas at the age of 24. So before taking sannyas, he had inaugurated the Sankirtan movement. Now, how was the Sankirtan movement performed? What are the various aspects of the Sankirtan movement? So Lord Gauranga would invite all the devotees in Mayapur. That is where Lord Gauranga appeared, and that is where he spent his childhood, his boyhood, and as a young man, he lived in Mayapur till the age of 24. Then at the age of 24, he took sannyas, and he, Lord Gauranga went to Jagannath Puri. So before taking sannyas, when he lived in Mayapur, and he inaugurated the Sankirtan movement, he would invite all the devotees in Mayapur for doing kirtan to the courtyard of Srivas Thakur. Srivas Thakur is described by Gaudiya Vaishnavas to be the incarnation of Narada Muni. He is Bhakta Avatar. I'm very sorry. Bhakta Avatar is Advaita Acharya. Sorry, I'm really sorry. I lost my train of thought. So Pancha Tattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakhyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. So the one who is known to be a devotee or the incarnation of a devotee, Bhaktakhyam, that is Narada Muni. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would come to Narad Muni's courtyard, and hundreds upon hundreds of devotees would come to his courtyard, his Angan, Srivas Angan, and they would do kirtan. How would they do kirtan? So they would come together at sunset, and then there would be mridangas and kartals, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would ask a couple of devotees to sing kirtan, lead kirtan. Then there would be people who would be singing. There would be devotees who would be playing the mridangas. There would be other devotees playing the kartals. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would dance. So there was one very renounced person who wanted to be a part of this kirtan. So this kirtan would happen. Kirtan would happen every evening, and every evening the devotees come together to Srivas Angan, and from sunset to sunrise they would do kirtan. So practically they would not sleep during the night. After a year's time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided, for certain reasons, to take this huge group of devotees and do street kirtan. That means devotees would walk up and down the street and chant the holy names of the Lord, and they would play musical instruments like the mridanga and kartal. So after a year of doing kirtan in the courtyard of Srivas Thakur, the Sankirtan went outside into the streets also. So this is how the Sankirtan movement started. So this renounced person had lived his entire life right from a very young age, like practically as a boy. And now this person was a young man. So he had lived a life of almost 20-25 years, or maybe more, maybe 30s, also 30 years, practicing a strict celibacy. Would always be chanting the holy names of the Lord and meditating, and practice strict austerity, would not eat any food, and would only subsist, would only exist by drinking milk. So he was known as Dugdhari Brahmachari. So he wanted to come and participate in this Sankirtan. However, Srivas Thakur turned him down. He said that, I'm sorry, you cannot participate. The reason was that Lord Chaitanya had specifically given the list of names to Srivas Thakur, names of those devotees who could come and participate in the Kirtan. So he had some specific requirements from the devotees who could participate. And this Dugdhari Brahmachari, he did not have those requirements. He was heartbroken when Srivas Thakur turned him down. So he fell at Srivas Thakur's feet and he requested him that, please give me one chance. I will stay incognito. I will try and keep myself hidden. And I promise you that I will not cause any inconvenience to anyone. So Srivas Thakur was a very simple person, and he was very kind-hearted. He was also an elderly gentleman. So Srivas Thakur felt obliged to let the brahmachari come in. So the brahmachari came and came into the courtyard during the day, before the sunset, when the courtyard was empty, and he went and hid himself in a place where nobody could see him or find him. So all the other devotees, they started coming in one by one, and then Lord Chaitanya came to Shivasangan, and the kirtan began, and everyone was very happy, and Lord Chaitanya was dancing. And then Lord Chaitanya, because he's as an expansion, the Supreme Lord is also present in the heart of every living entity. So Lord Chaitanya could understand that the brahmachari was there. So he stopped the kirtan and he asked Srivas Thakur, is there anyone here in your courtyard that is not on the list? And Srivas Thakur kept quiet. And Srivas Thakur said, my dear Lord, there are no sinful people here. So Lord Chaitanya said, all right. So he started doing, the Sankirtan started again. But however, Lord Chaitanya again could realize that there is there's some person here, someone here who's not on the list. So again stopped the Kirtan and he asked Srivas Thakur, is there anyone here who's not supposed to be here? And Srivas Thakur said, my dear Lord, there are no offenders in this crowd. And when Lord Gauranga heard this, he said, okay. And he started doing Kirtan again. Again, he stopped the Kirtan after some time. And when this brahmachari who was observing Lord Chaitanya dance, he saw Lord Chaitanya dancing, and he felt very much satisfied that and fortunate that he had that opportunity. So when he saw that Lord Chaitanya was stopping the Kirtan again and again, so he revealed himself. He came out from his hiding place, and very quietly he was trying to leave that courtyard and go away. So Lord Chaitanya saw him, and he roared out that, how dare you come to this Sankirtan? Do you feel that you're qualified to be a part of this gathering of sincere people? Do you think that simply because you have performed austerities or you have practiced celibacy that you can participate in the Sankirtan movement? The Supreme Lord is not pleased by such practices of celibacy or austerity. The Supreme Lord is not pleased by ardent study of the scriptures or by renunciation if one does not feel oneself to be the humble servant of the servant of other living entities. So you have done an offense. Lord Chaitanya was really angry at him. The brahmachari within his heart, he was obviously seeing Lord Chaitanya happy. The brahmachari was concerned because he did not want to cause any inconvenience to Lord Chaitanya or any other devotee. So within his heart, he started seeking forgiveness, that please forgive me for causing this inconvenience to you. However, just a glance of or just a moment of being here and seeing all the devotees singing and doing kirtan and seeing your beautiful form is more than what I could ever achieve or what I am qualified to have. I have no qualification to have such fortune, and hence I seek forgiveness, and I don't feel that, and I know that I've committed an offense by doing Maryada Ullangan, which basically means by breaking the etiquette. So within his heart, he was feeling such remorse. Lord Gauranga could immediately understand his heart. And so Lord Gauranga, he was very pleased by the demeanor, by the feelings that this brahmachari was having. And Lord Gauranga's anger subsided. Lord Chaitanya called out to the brahmachari and asked him to come close to him. And he said, yes, now that you feel remorse and you feel yourself unqualified, this is the qualification for anyone to participate here. If one has ego, the false ego, or if one feels that one has sufficiently learned the scriptures, or one has practiced a lot of austerities, and these qualify one to become liberated or to participate in the divine pastimes of the Supreme Lord, then actually all of that austerity and all of that study of the scriptures, it becomes a disqualification, because one's attitude is inappropriate, or one's um, uh, perspective is incorrect. However, if one feels totally unqualified to be the recipient of the mercy of the Lord, and at the same time endeavors to try to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then the confidence of the practitioner, or the practitioner's belief that on one's by one's own capability one will not be able to achieve liberation, or by one's own practices one will not be able to become free from the cycle of birth and death unless and until we receive the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this attitude of the practitioner, of a sadhaka, or of a person inclined to spiritual practices, this attitude is very, very helpful. So through this pastime, we see that Lord Chaitanya wanted to express or wanted to teach the brahmachari and teach all the devotees there, and also those teachings have come down to us, that to be able to achieve the goal of human form of life, which is to do sadhana, or which is to follow spiritual practices such that we become qualified to not have any taste for material sense gratification. So our spiritual practices should make us develop a distaste, or should make us lose taste for material sense gratification. So when our practices qualify us, by our practices, when we become so qualified that we lose any taste of material sense gratification, then the heart is empty to receive completely the mercy and the grace of the Lord. So when one loses complete taste of material sense gratification, then one feels helpless in this material world, because there is no shelter in this material world. And in that state of helplessness, one can actually take shelter of the Supreme Personality of God. However, to the extent we have some faith that there is shelter in material sense gratification, then to the degree that we have faith in materialistic life, to that extent, we will distance ourselves from the mercy of the Supreme Lord, or from getting the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We will kind of distance ourselves away from the Supreme Lord, or go away from the Supreme Lord. So Lord Chaitanya wanted to establish this principle through the example of this brahmachari, who was so austere that everyone felt that he was very qualified. However, the brahmachari's only qualification was the remorse in his heart that he had caused inconvenience to the Supreme Lord. At the same time, he felt very grateful that he had this opportunity to serve, he had the opportunity to participate in the Sankirtan that evening, in the Kirtan that evening. So gratitude, helplessness are the qualifications, some of the important qualifications. Being grateful for whatever inspiration we have for our spiritual practices, being sincere in those spiritual practices, and feeling helpless because there is no shelter that we find in material sense gratification, bring us closer to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of God. And this is the message that is also expressed through the Bhagavad Gita when Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam praja, aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshashyami. Krishna says that one should not be fearful of material existence because one has now taken complete shelter of the personality of Godhead. So having taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead gives us the insurance, or it ensures, or we get the assurance that Krishna will personally protect us from any of the effects, from any of the challenges that one would have in material life or in material existence. However, that protection is only available to us, or we are actually under that protection only if we feel helpless in this material world, and we seek Krishna's shelter in such utter helplessness. In Vrindavan, let me tell you the Vrindavan pastime. There is a beautiful story that the residents of Vrindavan, they share amongst themselves, the Brajavasis. It is about little Krishna, when Krishna was a young boy. So little Krishna one day observed that the ladies of the palace and of the community around him, around the palace, the ladies were all, they were making preparations for some kind of puja or ritual. So he asked his mother that, Maya, Yashoda Maya, what is the occasion? And what are you making these arrangements for? So Yashoda Maya said that, oh, all of us are going to worship the river Yamuna. So Krishna said, oh, so you are going to worship river Yamuna, you are going to do the puja for river Yamuna. I also want to come to do puja for river Yamuna. I want to be a pujari also. So pujari is one who does puja. So he says, I want to do a pujari also. So Mother Yashoda says, oh, you want to be a pujari? You want to come and worship Yamuna? You want to do Yamuna puja? All the time you're simply doing paid puja. So how can you do Yamuna puja? Mother Yashoda was making fun of Krishna. And so paid puja means Krishna was always trying to fill his stomach, especially by eating butter from Yashoda Maya's house and from other gopis' house. He would go there with his friends and he would eat butter and other things. So pet basically means the needs of the stomach. So Krishna, he made a face at Mother Yashoda and he says, no, I don't, I am not paid pujari. I am just pujari. And today I want to do puja for Yamuna Devi. So Mother Yashoda started laughing and she said, yes, you can come along. So she took Krishna along with her, and all the ladies, they went to the banks of the river Yamuna. And there they got out all the ingredients and they did aarti for Mother Yamuna, and they offered her flowers. It was a very beautiful sight, and Krishna saw all of them perform that puja, the worship, and he also followed. He also did whatever he saw his mother doing, and in this way, he was following in her footsteps. So finally, the ladies, they lit a lamp, a ghee lamp, and they put it on a leaf, and they let it float in the river Yamuna. So this is a very common ritual that is followed by the Shraddhalus, the faithful people, when they go to worship the holy rivers. They take a lamp, a small lamp, and they let it float in the river Yamuna. The idea is that they're making that offering to river Yamuna. They put the lamp in the waters of the river, and the water carries the lamps away. So they all did that, and after that they came down. They came back and to wherever all their asan was, the seat of worship was, and there they sat down and in Padmasan, the lotus position, and they closed their eyes and they were chanting prayers, closing their eyes. So Krishna looked at all of them, and he saw that they closed their eyes, and then he looked at the river Yamuna, and he looked at all those lamps that were floating down the river Yamuna. So he again looked back at his mother and the other ladies, and all of them had their eyes closed tightly. So Krishna took this opportunity, and he slowly walked into the river Yamuna, and he was waist deep in the river Yamuna. And then he looked back at his mothers. He looked at Mother Yashoda Maiya, and all the other Maiya, all the other ladies, and they were still sitting in meditation with closed eyes, chanting their prayers, their mantras. So Krishna, he spread out both his arms towards the lamps, and he called the lamps to him. He told the lamps, come back. Many lamps, the river was flowing downstream, and the lamps were going away from Krishna. So when Krishna said, come here, the lamps, some of the lamps, quite a few of the lamps, they started floating upstream against the current, and they came back to Krishna and they surrounded him. And some of the other lamps, they floated away. So all those lamps that had come around Krishna picked up all of those lamps in his arms, and he brought them out of the water, and then he took his upper cloth, his uttari, and he put all the lamps in that, and he tied them up inside that cloth. So he made a cloth bag in which all the lamps were there. There are quite a few lamps, dozens of them. And then he sat there. After some time, Mother Yashoda opened her eyes, the prayers are over, all the ladies also finished up their prayers, and now it was time to go back to Nanda Bhavan, go back to their palace, go back to their houses. So everyone gathered up all of the paraphernalia that they had brought with them, and Mother Yashoda told Krishna that, Kanhaiya, let us go back. So Krishna also picked up his cloth bag. And when he did that, Mother Yashoda asked him, what is that? What are you carrying? Because Krishna was little. He was maybe under 5 years of age. So Krishna said, oh, this is my thing. This belongs to me. And Mother Yashoda said, all right, let me see what it is in it. Krishna said, oh, no. You should not try to see. You should not look into others' belongings. It is bad manners. Mother Yashoda smiled and she said, yes, I know. I have taught you all of these good values. However, haven't I taught you that you can always look inside the belongings of a thief? Anyone can see the belongings of a thief, because a thief has stolen items, so one can check the belongings of a thief. So now Krishna made a face because he realized that Mother Yashoda was calling him a thief, a chore. So Mother Yashoda says, we can check the belongings of a chore, a thief. So Krishna grudgingly, he gave his bag to her. So Mother Yashoda opened his cloth bag and she saw all of these lambs. So Mother Yashoda was surprised. She said, Krishna, where did you get these lambs from? And Krishna said, well, all of you had put these lambs into the waters, so I picked them up. Mother Yashoda said, you picked them up, but the lambs must have floated away. Krishna said, yes, I called them and they came back. So Mother Yashoda, she was in disbelief. She said, you called to the lambs and they came back? And Krishna said, yes, I did, Maya. So Mother Yashoda, she thought that maybe, Krishna is just, he's being very childish. So Mother Yashoda kind of took the discussion forward in that way, that Krishna said, yeah, I called out to them and they came back to me. So Mother Yashoda said that, then why don't you have all the lambs? If you called out to them, then these are only some of the lambs. Why didn't all of the lambs come to you? And Krishna said, well, I called out to them. Some of them came back, the others did not. And in Vrindavan, when the story is told, the elders or the wise men, the wise people, they say that the moral of this story is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is giving his mercy to all living entities and is calling out to all of them that come and take shelter of me. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Come here, come and take shelter of me. There are some living entities, some of the living entities, they listen to what Krishna says and they accept his proposal and they come back to him. And those who come back to him, they are the ones who practice the principles of devotional service. And by practicing the principles of devotional service, they are able to swim upstream. In other words, the flow of current in the material world is towards sense gratification. But those living entities who accept Krishna's proposal, they flow against this current of material sense gratification. They willingly and consciously pull themselves away from the distractions of sense perception or from the distractions of sensual enjoyment, the sensual objects. They pull themselves away and they come to take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet through chanting Krishna's holy names or to worshipping the deity form of the Lord or hearing the wonderful glories of the Lord or offering prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead or offering ghee lamps or agarbatti to the Supreme Lord or performing festivals for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so on and so forth. So they do that. They engage their senses in activities by which they can serve Krishna. And when their senses are engaged in activities to serve Krishna, they have consciously rejected the opportunity to engage their senses in sense gratification. Now, when they are engaged in the activities of serving Krishna, there are so many other people who are engaged in sense gratification. So it may appear that these people, those who are practicing Krishna consciousness, it may appear that they are a minority, or it may appear that they stand out. They go against the norm. And it may feel that they are very helpless. And when the spiritual practitioners, the sadhakas, they actually understand that they are going against the norm, they are going against the flow of current, then you take more shelter because you feel helpless. You know that you need more strength. You know that you need to be more focused. So that is where they take a complete shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thus, Mam ekam sharanam aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami. Krishna says, I will free you from all the entanglements of material life. Mokshayishyami. I will free you from all of that. So Krishna picks all of them up and brings them up to Nanda Bhavan. So all those living entities come with Krishna to Krishna's home, the spiritual world. However, there are some living entities who decide to spend more time in material sense gratification. And because they decide to spend more time and energy in material sense gratification, they lose the opportunity and to feel sheltered by Krishna. They lose the opportunity to feel helpless in this material world seeking sense gratification. And they lose the opportunity to call out to Krishna. And therefore, those living entities, for that moment, they do not have the facility to come back to Nanda Bhavan, to Krishna's home. So we see that both pastimes, in both the pastimes, where Lord Chaitanya also says that when one feels unqualified to receive the mercy of the Lord because of material existence and still seeks the shelter of the Supreme Personality of God and feels grateful for receiving the opportunity, for having the opportunity to seek shelter, and feels grateful for having received mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that person is qualified to attain love of Godhead. And similarly, in the pastime about Krishna in Vrindavan, we see that Lord Krishna is always eager to have a relationship to have a loving relationship in reciprocation with all the living entities. There are some living entities that consciously want to engage in positive reciprocation with the Lord, and there are some living entities that consciously want to take more time and they go away from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So those who willingly and consciously take shelter of Krishna, for them Krishna assures freedom from the cycle of birth and death and entry into a life of eternal existence. And the process of Krishna consciousness is the process where the living entity is trying to float upstream or swim upstream against the current of material sense gratification to go back to Krishna. And this process of Krishna consciousness in Kali Yuga is easily done or performed through the chanting of the holy names of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I'll stop here. Any comments or questions?
Thank you, Prabhuji, so much. So, yeah, anybody would like to ask any questions? So, yeah, you have a chance in any month, so please go ahead. If you have any questions or comments, as Prabhuji said, for your thoughts, or you have any difficulties, you can ask Prabhuji in a very general way, you can get the answer. Prabhuji, devotees are getting warmed up, so I have something I thought this time I will ask in last, but nobody is coming forward first time. So, couple of things, Prabhuji, I would like to ask. This is a very fundamental question, but Pandit Srivas and Srivas Thakur, they are both same, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Okay.
When the Chaitanya Charitamrita says Srivas Pandit there, or the Chaitanya Leela we say Srivas Pandit, that is being addressed to the person known as Srivas Thakur and vice versa.
Thank you. And then, Prabhuji, that Srivas Thakur, as you said, he was incarnation of Narad Muni. Then he was a devotee. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, as you told. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave some order, in one hand we see as a devotee or being compassion, whatever from our angle, whatever Srivas Thakur did, allowing that brahmachari to Srivas Angan to participate or hidingly see Kirtan, Sankirtan movement. So that is, it looks good for us, even if a devotee also. But on the other hand, he disobeyed the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So how do we look at these two things? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu might have outwardly chastised him, but how do we see these two things together? Sometimes people, devotees are new devotees, or somebody seriously anxious to run towards Maharaj or go something, or to see something very close, but other senior devotees just point blank they oppose, or they don't allow him to go near to Maharaj or wherever it is because of various reasons. But it happens to almost everybody who is seriously looking for an opportunity without any thoughts, just go close to senior devotees or talk to them. But it's stopped. So how do we see this? Whatever Srivas Thakur did, whether that is how an outside person will look at it.
Srivas Thakur took that risk. So one way that we can look at it is that he took that risk. Maybe he did. We are trying to just we are trying to draw lessons from it, right? So let us say that Srivas Thakur took that risk. So most probably he knew that there can be consequences, and still he took that risk. So if we are trying to compare ourselves or compare our situation to what happened in this past time, then we can also, if we want, we can take a risk and be ready to face the consequences too. Is it all right?
Yes, that is. So, and one more question is, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is Leela Avatar. Not Leela Avatar, he is Yuga Avatar, you also mentioned. So, he is not listed as one of the in Leela Avatar. So, obviously, he was doing the Leela. So, how do we see that one? Anything is okay, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we can tell he is out of.
Well, he may not be listed as Leela Avatar. At the same time, his has not been listed as not being a Leela Avatar also.
Okay.
So that it is not that the avatars that have been listed, that is the only avatars that are there. So when an avatar is performing a pastime, is performing activities which are to establish religious principles, then those activities are called as leelas, and the avatar is called as Leela Avatar.
So, thank you, and thank you, Prabhuji, for that pastime of lamps coming forward that I never had. It's very exciting. A lot of things to learn directly. It's amazing. I never had this. The first time hearing this. Really. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And anybody would like to ask any question? No?
Yes, Prabhu. This is Krishnakant here, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandat Pranam. On elementary question, Prabhu, not directly connected to today's topic, but the question is, Prabhu, so when at the time of birth, or maybe when someone is transitioning from one life to the next life, they did not go back for some reason, but they're carrying forward the, let's say, bhakti balance. But do they also carry forward the intelligence from the past life? Or is it reset? Is the intelligence reset in every life?
We carry the subtle body into the next life. It is a subtle body, and floating within the subtle body, the soul goes to the next life, into the womb of where one is going to take birth. So the subtle body comprises of the mind, the intelligence, and the false ego. That is why there are impressions from past life. That is why there is a kind of personality that one exhibits, which comes from past life. This is all the arrangement of the laws of karma. Otherwise, how will we be getting the reactions to our previous actions? So it has to come through the via media of the subtle body. So which basically means the intelligence also is coming from a previous life, and the intelligence it has been influenced by various perceptions of our previous lives. The ability to practice knowledge, the ability to understand knowledge and to practice based on that understanding has to be triggered in the present birth. If it is not triggered in the present birth, then it remains supta. It remains inactive. So even if we are carrying certain impressions from the previous life, it has to be stimulated in this life, and only when there is stimulation, only when there is stimulation, does that kick in. It starts working from where it was in the past life. So all the necessary trigger for us to receive reactions in this life will be done by the arrangement of material nature. So it will be Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik, or Adhyatmik karans. Adi Devik means there will be supernatural causes that trigger the functioning of the intelligence from where it was in the previous life. Or there could be similarly, that is Adidevik Karan. Then there is Adhyatmik, means personal. There may be some personal pushings. We may have some personal pushings or inclinations in this lifetime of this new birth, or it could be other living entities that bring about that. However, to be able to have devotional inclinations, that is only possible when we come in touch with a devotional environment. So it can be any object. It can be a particular moment of time, like suppose, like sometimes it could be the time of some Shubha Muhurta, which triggers that, because in the community people practice, they have those practices, auspicious times. Or it could be something like the eclipse, which is considered to be inauspicious in certain ways. So for devotional inclinations to be triggered, one has to come in contact with some objects or persons who are in the devotional mode. It does not happen based on our previous pushings, or it cannot happen by the influence of just any other living entity. However, the other reactions that we need to have for which the intelligence also needs to be involved, that will be triggered by other living entities. So to conclude, what I want to say is that we carry over the impressions from a previous life into this life. Whatever has to be received in the form of reactions in this life, reactions to our previous actions, whatever has to be received, that will be triggered by almost any other living entity, which is adibhautik, adidevik, or adhyatmic. It will be triggered either by our own personal pushings, inclinations, or by other living entities. Some of them can be supernatural too. However, devotional inclinations from the past will only be triggered or stimulated when we come in touch with a devotional environment. Is that helpful?
Yes, Prabhu. But if I'm not prolonging this question further, but just one clarification. So then, if say a person has done some bhakti in the past birth and is carrying forward that bhakti into the current birth, and there is also this impressions and intelligence that is carried forward into the current birth, then that person coming in contact with some devotees, whereby the whole reaction triggers the catalyst, which awakens the devotional inclination of that. So, where does desire of that person's current birth desire come into picture here for the first time?
Desire also comes from the past life too, because in the past life we had desire, no? So desire cannot go away. However, that desire is influenced by so many other factors. So in this life, that desire will be manifested when there are favorable circumstances. For example, in Prahlad Maharaj's life, it was triggered when he was in the womb of his mother, and she was in the ashram of Narad Muni. And after his birth, being in the palace of his father triggered it, although that was unfavorable from others' perspectives, but it was favorable for him because it made him take more shelter of Krishna. So hence I said, I did not say just devotees. I said when a person, it is triggered when a person comes in contact with a devotional environment. So that can be favorable or unfavorable. Some eclipses may be unfavorable, but for somebody who has devotional credits from past lifetime, he sees that everyone is trying to be very pious now. So that could trigger devotional sentiments.
Thank you, Prabhu. That helps.
Yeah. And once that is triggered, then the desire blossoms. Then one tries to do more. One wants to have more.
Yeah, then the whole cycle starts.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, one more question from my side, maybe for many of our devotees. We are having difficulties. I myself have difficulties. We get up morning around 4 o'clock, then we have 3 hours time. I know, or we have to get absorbed in whatever we do. We should give best to Krishna, whatever service we do. What is happening exactly? We have 3 hours time. We have to chant, we have to do deity worship, we have to read. Then we have to offer lamps. So many things happens in 3 hours. So it is just like, one after another we have to do, because I have to start doing my office work or join office or log in or whatever. So it is one hand I feel, I don't feel, I'm just giving my 100% or I'm fully absorbed. It becomes, I have to do it, I am doing. And at the same time I feel bad that I should not, maybe it's, I should give more time to Krishna, and at the same time not able to give it. And many of our devotees, they find difficulty in getting up also early in the morning. They're alone, they have to cook their food, they have to come from work, they have to do many things. So this is a really constant, as if we are not giving 100%, we are just, I feel sometimes guilty, or I feel myself, yes, I'm not giving, but only solace is, we are attempting, or we are trying in good heart, 365 days we are doing that. But at the same time, I am not fully absorbed, So only thing when I have Saturday, Sunday, little bit I read, I feel something, I feel myself, yes, I'm doing something which is really, I'm learning something. Otherwise, it becomes mechanical rest of the days, the morning time. So how do we? How do we help ourselves in this situation?
So the question, what is the question? Are you asking that how do we try to be more absorbed when
the limited time?
That is a question, that when one is trying to in the mornings when one is doing one's devotional practices, how to be more absorbed?
Yes.
Okay. Why? Okay. Why would one want to be more absorbed?
In the sense, we are, again, that is true. When you, let us say, exam, when you give your 100%, when you are studying, you forget even food also sometimes. Or no, you don't just bother about your environment, what's you are fully absorbed and you feel satisfied. When the exam is over, you feel there's a vacuum. So what we are reading, learning, what you do, we should give our best to Krishna. So during chanting, we are chanting for 5 devotees together. If that is good, that part, then sometimes we are not able to get up in time or have something to do. So I just cut short that time to 45 minutes or 1 hour or whatever. Then I have to go to next thing, I have to take bath, whatever daily thing. If we have to do, then we have to do puja or pararti, then boga, then after that you may have to read something at least. Evening, of course, I read, but so yeah, it's just a hurrying of certain things with a limited time, and that I'm not satisfied. That I am doing justice you are supposed to do. I should have more time to do what I am doing.
So is it that you're not absorbed or you're falling short of time? I'm trying to understand because there are so many parameters that are coming.
Yeah, falling short of time, so just trust during that time, certainly. If I have time, if I read something, yes, it goes to heart, I feel, yes, something, I feel different type of feeling, yes, that type of thing. So
I understand from what I understand, from what you're saying, my understanding is that one, you want to be absorbed when you spend time doing your practices in the morning. Second, you feel that there is a lot of things to do and there's time constraint. And three, you feel satisfied when you are able to do the things that you want to do without time constraint. So when you are doing it without any pressure, then you feel satisfied because you're doing it properly. Is that the summary?
Yes.
So you are wondering what can be done so that you can feel that kind of satisfaction or happiness every morning.
Yes.
Find time.
That means we have to get up 3 o'clock.
Well, it seems like a graph where there is, x-axis, there is time, and y-axis, there are activities, and you're trying to reach a destination of happiness. So that is kind of being plotted on the graph based on x and y-axis, right?
Yes. So it is going.
So you want the graph to be, going upwards, maybe towards the optimum utilization of time and activities done in that time. Most probably it is leaning more towards either the x-axis or the y-axis. So whichever axis it is leaning towards, that is what you have to work on. So either you work on the number of activities that you do. So if the graph is leaning towards the x-axis, then it comes back to where you want it. Or if if it is on more towards the x-axis, then you have to work on that angle to bring it back, isn't it? So right now it seems either time or the activities that you do. So you have to decide which one. Is that all right?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
You're
So,
welcome.
Prabhuji, just 2 more minutes. Anybody would like to ask anything? Rohinipriya Mataji, if you are there. Yeah, Mataji. Or anybody else would like to ask anything to Prabhuji at this point? Giranazar Prabhu also is there, I think. Yes. So.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji. It was really nice. I heard that story first time, and it was really touching to the heart. Thank you.
You are welcome, Giriraj. So we can stop?
Prabhuji, just want to say thank you for everything. I think, Prabhuji, I have been hearing at least from last 10 years, at least few times. This is my 4th time hearing you. I think it's all wonderful. Thank you, Prabhuji,
You're
for
welcome.
giving your wisdom, your time.
Prabhuji, about Raj Prabhu, I would like to tell you something. He is in touch with us, was discreet on and off, but I have never left him. So he recently moved to LA. He's very close to the temple. Krishna has not left him after you had a program in his house or something like that. But so he's getting close to Krishna, I guess. Every Sunday he's going to temple every year. So that's a good thing happening for him and his family. It's the right time he's going to temple, close to temple.
So I'm like 20 minutes away from Berkeley Temple. So if you are in Berkeley, Prabhuji, please come to our place.
You invite me now. So Prabhuji will have time. So,
Anytime, Prabhuji, you let me know. I'll do whatever you do.
Definitely, Raj Prabhu. I'll let you know. When I'm there in the Bay Area, I'll let you know.
So Prabhuji is just like if you have one seat, Krishna Prasad, Krishna will never leave you. So yeah, that's what is happening in his case I'm seeing. So yeah, anybody else? Mataji would like to, Rohinipriya Mataji would like to say something.
Thank you so much, Rohinipriya Prabhu. It was very nice just to listen. No, Prabhuji, I'm getting the benefit of your questions, I guess everybody has the same. Some people have more time, some people, you at least I feel, you're sincerely trying. Sometimes I feel I'm not even trying, I need to work harder towards achieving my goals, I just say, okay, I have to do my chanting, whatever I have to do compulsory, I do it and I just let it go, I cannot even complain that I don't have time. I think you at least genuinely do not have time, you're trying your best. So I think Krishna will understand whatever you're doing.
Thank you, Mataji. So Prabhuji will conclude here, and thank you once again, Prabhuji. It goes a lot of learning, a lot of insights. So hopefully we learned something today. Anybody from India, Lakshman Prabhu, Satyavan, Sushil Prabhu also is there. Sumit Prabhu, are you there? It's not that late for you, but
yes, Prabhu, I'm here, Prabhu.
Yeah, so yeah, Prabhuji, Prabhuji, Sumit Prabhu, probably I was telling in the beginning, he's in Colorado now. What junction? Grand Junction, somewhere.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Bol, Sumit.
Good to hear you after a long time.
Vice
No, you
versa.
are not coming. Why, Prabhu? Sorry. Prabhuji was saying something. I think I'm sorry. You were saying something.
Nice. I was saying that it was good to hear Sumit's voice also.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Sure, thank you, Prabhu.
So, all of you, please unmute and say 3 times big Hari Bol for Prabhuji, for Prabhuji. And thank you for staying late, Prabhuji, and all of you this evening. And say big Hari Bol 3 times for Prabhuji.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.